heard up here in News Chopper 4 Alpha what the initial want was. All we know is that the suspect is armed, so we're still waiting to get all those details. But you see the suspect vehicle here. He just ran through that red light there on Academy Drive with Solano Avenue is going to be the exact cross. You see the cruisers directly behind this guy. I'm going to count them, and I'm seeing at least 6 cruisers directly behind this guy. He's actually slowed down his speed significantly, driving about 60 miles an hour. But these are surface streets, though, which is of course concerning, because even those speeds in these types of areas can be very dangerous. Yeah, he's currently at Amador, and you see him coming up here to one of the residential streets. So if he does continue making his way through here, he can get into the areas of that are adjacent to Dodger Stadium. So eventually he could end up in Silver Lake if he continues on these residential streets. But currently on Solano Avenue with across of Broadway, coming up to the major here, which is going to be Broadway. Here's the school bus. Oh gosh, that was so close. Oh my gosh. He stopped just in time before colliding with that school bus and is now making a right-hand turn onto Broadway. Yeah, I'm clocking him at about 60 miles an hour here, and as you said, starting to pick up speed. He's increasing to about 75 miles an hour, and this is going to be Broadway, which is a major street here through the area, but is still a small street, all things considered, where you would not want to be traveling at these types of speeds. He's there in the number 1 lane, coming up to a red light, and he's going to blow right through that red light. We've seen him cross a number of intersections now, and every time when he has had a red light, he does not yield whatsoever. He just plows right on through. We actually have not gotten word yet, or at least haven't heard anything across the police scanner as to how many people may be in the vehicle. We, of course, know that there has to be a driver, and we did hear them referring to that suspect as a he. So we do believe that this is a male suspect who we heard is believed to be armed. It's unclear what type of weapon he may have, or if he has more than one. And of course, it's unclear when this, what the initial want was when they initially tried to pull this suspect over. But there's a good look at the suspect vehicle. It appears to be a closer to golden color. I had said silver earlier, but it appears to be a gold-colored vehicle just on the other side of this big, tall, white building off of Broadway and Cesar Chavez. Oh, yeah, and I mean, these are very busy streets. You see how many cars were right there, and he just kind of squeezed his way between those two vehicles. He's really picking up speed on these surface streets, which is very concerning. For a time, though, he was on the freeway, which is, of course, there's a little bit less of a danger when it comes to freeways because, of course, you can't really turn on the freeway, but you see him, we should be seeing him come right on under those train tracks, rather. There's a number of pedestrians here, and just squeezing right past those pedestrians here on Vignes Street. Yeah, so we are currently at Vignes Street with a cross of Ramirez. So this is going to be close to the Twin Towers Correctional Facility. It's also very close to Union Station. So now he's getting into the heart of downtown, crossing under the 101 freeway there. He's going to pop out the other side. We should see him come out here. We'll see what he does. We saw what he did last time when he was behind that building. He made that sweeping left turn. So we, of course, don't want to lose sight of him, but he was just under the 101 freeway. Yeah, he very well could get back on the freeway. He's going to be getting onto the 101 northbound is what we're hearing from Alameda. So we should start to see him go northbound. He went under the freeway there and is now, you see him there. He made that turn to get onto the northbound 101. Yeah, and we actually heard that he's getting back on the freeway. So they said he was going north, and now they said he's going south. So he's right under us here, and northbound Alameda is what we're hearing now. So he's still on Surface Street. So bear with me here while I move the shot around. This is going to be Alameda over here. So he got on the freeway there for a moment. We missed it when he was under the freeway. And then he exited Alameda, is now going northbound. Yeah, he really picked up speed, so we're trying to catch up to him, like these cruisers are trying to catch up to him as well. You see him making these very erratic turns. It's very difficult to keep up with him because he's just moving so quickly. We're having trouble, and you see the cruisers are having trouble as well, just keeping up with this guy. Yes, he very well could. He's still very close to a number of our freeways. He's very close to the 101, also very close to the 110. So he has either option here. But if he takes any of these streets, he could even make his way back to the 5 freeway. So he has a number of options here, and it looks like he's just simply trying to get away at this point, continuing to drive at very high speeds, approximately 75 miles an hour. You really do. And yeah, go ahead, Chuck. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's been really difficult to follow because of the number of tall structures in the downtown area. As you said, he's kind of getting away from that now, approaching Daly Street with across of Broadway. He just made a turn there near another school bus, and I'm actually hearing on the scanner, and I think it's something that you guys alluded to before, the possibility that this may be a robbery suspect. We are hearing over the scanner that they are calling him an armed robbery suspect. So that kind of ties into one of the earlier points that you made. At this point, it's unclear. We, of course, know that typically they can run the plates and figure out whether or not a car is stolen, but sometimes a car is an unreported stolen, so it hasn't made its way into their system, so it wouldn't necessarily come back as a stolen vehicle right off the bat. But at this point, we don't believe it is a stolen vehicle, at least not yet. But they are calling the suspect an armed robbery suspect, now crossing over Main Street with across of Daly. And you see the 5 freeway there right up on the right side of the screen, and you see the pursuit making its way here south on Daly towards Marengo. So this is going to be in the area of the LA County Coroner's Office. It's also very close to County USC Medical Hospital. Oh, you see that there? The Metro bus just cut off the police vehicle. So this is going to give the suspect the chance to get away a little bit more. That cruiser that just got cut off was the lead unit. So this is allowing the suspect vehicle to gain some distance between him and the officers. Exactly, and there is in fact a police unit overhead, the helicopter, and now you see that lead unit just caught up to him, fortunately, as he continues here on Mission Road with across of Cesar Chavez, coming up to a red light, but he's going to make the turn, making a left-hand turn onto Cesar Chavez. Exactly. Those turns are, sometimes they're great because the police units can try a pit maneuver when they make those turns, but they're also so dangerous because, as you said, that's when there may be people who just aren't aware of what's going on because they're traveling in the complete opposite direction. They haven't seen the line of patrol cars that are chasing this guy. So it's always a very dangerous time. And as I said before, surface street pursuits are always especially dangerous because you have a lot of people who are turning right in front of the pursuit, and then you also have pedestrians, which is another element that the officers would obviously like to keep out of this. As he continues here, Cesar Chavez with across of Boyle. Yeah, that's exactly it, Chuck. That's exactly the area that he's in. He was very close to the hospital a moment ago and is now getting onto, I believe this is going to be the southbound 5, but I'll confirm it here in a moment. It may, you know what? It's actually the 10 West. So this is the westbound 10 freeway from the 5. Exactly. That's it, Chuck. He got on for just a moment, just for one exit. He's now on 4th Street. So he exited 4th Street. 4th Street with a cross of State is going to be his exact cross. Yeah, and that freeway that he just crossed over is going to be the 101. So you see the number of freeways that are involved here. This is where they all come together, the 10, the 101, the 5. So during several points of this pursuit, he's crossed over different freeways every time. And yes, this is back into the heart of LA, near downtown. So this is such a busy area, especially around this time of the day. So it's just especially dangerous to have a pursuit coming through the streets here. But he's continuing here on 4th Street with a cross of Anderson. Slow down his roll a little bit. But again, this is going to be an armed suspect, so they're going to want to be very careful about how they approach this pursuit. Let's count. Earlier we did see about 5 to 6, and I'm seeing about 6 with, of course, the air unit overhead that Chuck mentioned earlier. So even though there are points when the units may not be directly behind this guy due to traffic or what have you, the police helicopter is still overhead, and they're calling out the streets as this pursuit continues on. One o'clock, Tim. Yeah, sometimes those units will go into what's called Code 100, so they will try to set up ahead to try to stop traffic if they know the pursuit is coming this way. But then there's another element that they can do, and that is, of course, set up a spike strip. We've heard them talking about a spike strip, but I have not heard them actually planning where they're going to deploy one, but that is definitely in the mix. In terms of a pit maneuver, though, that's a little more questionable because we do know that the suspect is believed to be armed, and if that's the case, they're not going to want to perform a pit maneuver and then have this guy spin out in front of them in a situation where the police unit would be face to face with the suspect. So that's something that they, I think, are still considering. I have not heard them mention it yet, but continuing here on Los Angeles Street with a cross of 2nd. Right under us, Tim. And he's dropping things out of the vehicle now. I'm hearing over the scanner, they're saying that he just dropped a number of articles. It was difficult to make out what they may have been, but you see one going right there. There's a few more. Yeah, now he's now he's getting rid of a lot of things, so it's unclear what those things may be. There's another bus. We've seen a number of buses during this pursuit. Yep, more things going out, and Yeah, it's difficult to. Let's see if we can take a peek as he makes this turn. Sometimes that's a great time for us to look in front of the windshield there and see if there may be an additional person. But it's still difficult to tell. I really can only see that driver. But boy, was that different? He just started throwing things out of the vehicle, and it's unclear what those things may have been, why he wanted to get rid of them. But he's currently on 7th Street with a cross wall, and despite his latest antics, police units are still close behind. Yeah, so typically what will happen is the lead unit will yell out. He drops something at the corner of X and Y. He dropped something at the corner of A and B. And so there will be additional units in the rear that will retrieve those items because, of course, they will want to get those, and that's going to be part of their evidence. So typically it won't be the lead unit that'll do it because the lead unit has to keep eyes on the suspect vehicle. But one of the rear units, ideally the ones that are closer to the back, will stop and retrieve those items, which of course will be considered as evidence later on. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So he's still near the downtown area, 7th Street and Gladys Avenue. And that's a very good point. He's making circles essentially in the same area, which oftentimes when we see suspects do this, it is because it is an area that they are familiar with, and they're hoping to, basically not accidentally, oh, cross traffic here. Oh, this is going to be close. Oh, gosh. What they try to do is go to an area that is familiar to them so that they won't drive to a cul-de-sac or a dead end. Or in some cases, what they're trying to do is to drive to their residence or the residence of a friend who will basically house them there, for lack of a better word. After this pursuit is over, they'll try to ditch the vehicle and then try to seek refuge inside of that home, and then it may become a barricaded suspect situation. So that's what we've seen in some other cases. We don't know that that's exactly what's going to happen in this case, but you see that he continues to make turn after turn, and every street that we come up to is just so busy, again, considering he is in the downtown area. He's behind the big buildings, Tim. The glass ones. We haven't seen him pop out yet, but we last saw him next to these glass buildings. So I'll stick with this cruiser here. It looks like he made another turn. So he made another turn northbound there, behind these newer apartments. So we'll see him come out here in just a moment, I'm sure. It's always very difficult when a pursuit makes its way through downtown because these are tough though. When you have all these buildings in the way, it's difficult. He just made another turn northbound on Hill, so he's going to be just behind this building here. It's very difficult to keep up with him, but we'll of course try to maintain these images for as long as we can. It is, yeah, right off of we just heard him make a turn on a Hill Street, which should be right around here. So we'll see if we can regain him here. But as you said, yeah, right next to Pershing Square, 6th Street with a cross of Hill, it does appear that he is going to be going eastbound on 6th Street away from Hill Street. Yeah, and I've got him. He's, yeah, so he's southbound spring, so this is for my pilot, Tim. He's 1 o'clock, he's almost, he's like almost right below us behind a glass building. It's very difficult, as you might assume, with all the police helicopters and media helicopters here. So we were trying to stay right on top of him, but it can be kind of difficult sometimes. But he just made a turn on 8th Street and is now making a northbound turn onto Main. So 8th and Main is going to be the nearest cross. So yeah, just behind this apartment complex, you see him come out and going northbound, coming up on 6th. Yeah, near Pershing Square, it's an area with a lot of apartment complexes, and there you see him making a turn on a 6th with a cross of Main, really not slowing down significantly whatsoever, weaving in and out of traffic, just so dangerous. And there's a trash truck coming up. Some pedestrians barely missed getting hit there as he continues northbound on Main. Yeah, this pursuit has been so uncomfortable. Yeah. 4th Street with a cross of Wernan. Go ahead, Chuck, sorry. At this point, he's 9 o'clock, Tim. Or 3 o'clock, sorry, 3 o'clock. Yeah, this is a very busy area here with a lot of merchants on either side of the road. You see that Prius, not really sure what's going on. He's like, do I move out of the way? I don't know. But you see what the suspect is trying to do. Just get enough room so he can squeeze by. Yeah, I'll zoom out just a touch so you can see. Yeah, so he's approaching that box truck right now. So he's between the building and the box truck. He's just trying to squeeze his way through however he can. But you see how busy of an area this is. It's very difficult. You see people running there on the sidewalk. It's unclear what they're trying to do, whether they're just trying to get a better look or what have you. But this is such a dangerous situation because, as you said, Carolyn, this is an armed suspect. So now you're adding all of these people into the mix. It's just such a dangerous situation. He's definitely stuck. Winston with a cross of Wall Street is going to be the exact cross. You see him there, and then you see the cruiser right on his tail. They're not giving him any breathing room, and he still has his window down, so we can actually see. We can actually see inside for just a moment. It looks like the box truck's moving out of the way. This is going to give him the room that he needs to squeeze by, and he's going to come out on Winston with a cross of Wall. And I actually just heard them mention the spike strip, so I think they may have actually placed one there, knowing that he was going to come out. It gave them just enough room to do it, but I don't know whether or not he hit it. But they at least tried. Yes. That was San Julian with a cross of 6. He's going to come out here on the other side. And there he goes, southbound San Pedro. His speeds are approximately 40 miles an hour, which normally you wouldn't think is that fast. But this is such a busy area that those speeds are dangerous just because of the sheer number of vehicles and people that are in this guy's path. making a right-hand turn. Yeah, he just made a right-hand turn there, but he didn't lose any speed at all. So based off of how well he's continuing to drive this vehicle, I don't know if he hit those spike strips. Of course, it's not something that we'll see immediately. It's slowly the air will start to come out of those tires. But so far, it does not appear that he's affected whatsoever, as he just made that turn onto Maple Avenue from Olympic. Yeah, and now very difficult. So we'll see it. We should see him pop out here on the other side unless he turns before he gets to that intersection. But this is going to be Olympic with across a Broadway, and I believe he did make a northbound turn. Yeah, there he goes. He goes northbound. And yeah, as you said, Carolyn, it's downtown LA is such a busy area as it is. You have a lot of pedestrians. You have a lot of people who are on bicycles. And then you just have a great number of cars. So when you throw a pursuit into a mix, especially one like this that has been very erratic, where you can't really guess what he's going to do next, it's just so dangerous. And then when you throw into the mix the fact that this is an armed burglary suspect, so now you're chasing a guy you know has a gun, and now he is so close to all of these people. It just makes for a very dangerous situation, but the LAPD is trying to do everything they can to have this end as peacefully as possible without anyone getting hurt, as they continue chasing this guy here on Hill Street with a cross of 7th. Northbound Fig. So I just heard him make a northbound turn on a Figueroa right behind that building. So he should be coming out here in a moment. So essentially he's, if he goes northbound Figueroa, it's going to put him right next to the 110 freeway. The airship actually lost visual of the suspect, but they're saying he is near Fig. And then they said Flower, which actually runs adjacent. So he's going to be behind these buildings. Southbound Hill is what they're saying now. Southbound Hope, and the air unit is also trying to re-engage this pursuit. The ground units are still behind him, but the air unit has lost visual. We are now regaining visual right now on 7th Street with a cross of Flower. Yep, heading towards the 110 freeway. This is going to be his chance to get on if he so chooses. And he's not against going on the freeway. We have seen him do that. But he doesn't stay on the freeway for very long. He does seem to be more comfortable with surface streets. So he'll get onto the freeway for an exit or two, get off, and then take surface streets. But you see what he did right there? Went right over the 110 freeway. He's going to stick to surface streets on this one. Right under us. Yeah, he's going right under us here on Bixel Street. It's a slightly smaller street. Now he's really under us, making yet another turn. So we'll try to get him here. He's right next to that glass building. He's making a turn there with the freeway there on the right side of your screen. This is going to be Wilshire Boulevard. So we'll see what he does when he comes here, when he comes out here on the other side. Yep, back eastbound, back towards those big buildings. Yeah, wrong side of the road here, and it looks like he tried to make a turn there, decided not to do it, and is going to go northbound instead. Yeah, I haven't seen him be affected by that whatsoever. It can take a little bit, just depending on how quickly those tires deflate, but it does not appear that he is affected, and he's going to be now making yet another right-hand turn, Hope with a cross of 6, so he's behind these big buildings right here, and we'll catch it on the other side. If my pilot can fly towards like 1 o'clock-ish, just past the Wilshire Grand. He should be on the street that's directly to the east of the Wilshire Grand Hotel. Southbound Hope. continuing southbound. And he's just north of Pershing Square there, guys. We just found him yet again. It's really difficult to keep up with him when he's circling those big buildings. And even the airship overhead has lost him a couple of times. But those ground units, they're staying close behind. But he is not losing speed whatsoever, continuing about 50 miles an hour on surface streets in the downtown LA area. And we've seen that happen a couple of times already. I mean, there have been so many close calls. Pedestrians, I even saw one person who was on a wheelchair who barely missed being hit by this guy. And then we saw the number of close calls with other vehicles. We saw that extremely close call with that school bus. Fortunately, no one was hurt in that one because he just managed to avoid hitting it. But he really has not lost steam whatsoever as he continues here on Flower Street with a cross of 8th. And that spike strip was perfect because they knew he was going to be stuck in traffic. So it gave them the time that they needed to set it up. But since then, he's been very erratic about his turns. So it's really difficult to determine where he's going to go next. And without them being able to determine where he's going to turn, it's really difficult to get ahead and set up a spike strip. I believe that they don't all carry units. Or carry spike strips rather. I'm not sure how they delegate or allocate rather who gets one and who doesn't, but I don't believe every unit has one because oftentimes during a pursuit you'll hear them say, or you'll hear them ask for a unit with a spike strip. So I believe that they are limited in number, and those are individuals I'm sure have gone through some special training to determine, for them to know exactly how to use it, when is the safest time to do so. We know that all units are pit approved, which means they all LAPD units know how to perform the pit maneuver. But in terms of the spike strip, I'm not sure what the education behind all that may be. Exactly. So there's a few elements that come into play when it comes to performing the pit. The first one is speed. He has to be going under 35 miles an hour, which he really hasn't done during the course of this pursuit. He's been going a lot faster than that. And then the other element would be the size. So if his vehicle is larger than the police vehicle, they likely won't try it. But in this case, it's an SUV. If they got one of the police SUVs, they might be able to try it then. However, we know that this suspect is armed. So they're not likely to perform a pit if the suspect is armed, because what could happen is the vehicle could spin. And if that does, you could end up in a situation where the suspect and the officer who performed the pit are nose to nose. And knowing that the suspect is armed could put that officer in a very precarious situation. He just turned onto onto Los Angeles Street with a cross of Winston, continuing here just past these smaller buildings. He's in an area with smaller buildings now, but he's still essentially in the heart of downtown. He just made a turn onto 5th Street, I'm hearing, which is going to be a little up ahead, which is right around this area. We're still not too far from a freeway. I hear he's on 7th Street, so I'm gonna have to skip up ahead a little bit here. We're very close to the 101 freeway. That's going to be our nearest freeway, but then there's also a number of other freeways in the area. Let's see what he does here. Okay, he's going to continue. So he continued straight there, Tim, behind these buildings here, next to that U-shaped building. So the 101 freeway is very close. The 110 freeway is also very close, as is the 10 freeway and even the 5. So he still has a number of options, but if should he decide to get on the freeway, the 110 or the 101 are going to be the closest. It's very difficult, especially when he gets to these big buildings. I know that he's currently between these two large sets of buildings near that American flag is what I heard. So he's basically Broadway with a cross of hill. And I'm hearing as the police helicopter calls out the streets, but sometimes even the police helicopter loses his vantage point of the suspect. He's on hill right now, which is this street right here, I believe. He made a northbound turn here, so we should see him pop out here in just a moment. You see the officers still close behind this guy, and he's still very close to Pershing Square, just on the east side of Pershing Square. He's near Pershing Square, 1 o'clock, Tim? Northbound. Yeah, we just picked him up again, right just north of Pershing Square. He's still northbound on Hill, coming up to 3rd. And those units, they have to do everything this guy does. So unfortunately, you know, they are having to drive at these very high speeds, running through these red lights as well. The police units will try to clear the intersection the best they can, but we've seen that the suspect, he doesn't clear the intersection whatsoever. He just plows right on through. Making a turn here on northbound Alameda. He's in heavy traffic here, so we'll see what he does here. He's going to try to reverse a little bit, perhaps come back in the direction that he came. Nope, he's just going to go wrong side of the road here. Oh, this is such a busy area. Oh, this could be really bad. Very busy area here in downtown off of Alameda, near the 101 freeway. This is where he got on the freeway earlier, so we'll see what he does this time around. Yeah, it's such a dangerous situation. The officers, they're going to try to clear the intersection the best they can. Oh, but this guy, oh boy, he's just going for it. He's not clearing anything. Wrong side of the road here. Exactly, on Los Angeles Street with a cross of Spring. And now he's entering the freeway, 101 North. From Los Angeles, we should see him pop out there. There he is. Yeah, so he's right next to the 101 and the and Mission would have been one of the major streets there. So if he continues in this direction, he's going to get up to the 110 freeway. At that point, he'll be able to decide whether to go north or south. 110, that's the interchange that he's coming up with there. There's the big church there off of the 101 freeway. Putting on his brakes there, almost hit that vehicle, but continuing on the northbound 101. But now it seems like traffic's going to clear up for him just a touch compared to the traffic he was just experiencing. He's now picking up speed here about 75 miles an hour on the northbound 101, passing San Pedro and using literally every lane he needs to so that he can continue on and get away from these officers. Within my line of sight, I'm not seeing the ground units that are directly behind this guy, but the airship, of course, is still overhead. But unfortunately, I'm hearing that he's running low on fuel. But, as Chuck mentioned earlier, we're very close to Hooper Heliport. They'll be able to get a replacement helicopter out here soon. He's just exiting Echo Park, so he's just next to the lake. You see him there. And between the lake and the 101 freeway. Yeah, very reckless. He just wants to get away. He's continuing here just on the left side of the lake. So it would be the west side of Echo Park Lake, heading northbound on Glendale Boulevard. Yeah, he made that turn there, so that would be a good chance for me to see any units. And yes, we see some there. They're just going to make that turn that he just made as he's heading eastbound now, just on the north side of Echo Park. Ooh, oh gosh. You have to hold your breath on those. It is so dangerous. Gosh, he has had so many close calls during the course of this pursuit. It's incredible. Oh, they're right there. He just crashed. He just crashed. I'm going to ask my pilot to scoot a little to the left. We'll be able to see him. He's right behind that tree. And there we go. That he's running. Oh, please don't carjack anyone. We see two suspects. We see him running. I'm going to stick with this guy. He's right behind that building. Yeah, he's just next to the Walgreens. And we're coming around here, guys, so that we can see that driver. I saw one officer right on his tail, so we believe he is in custody, but we'll be able to confirm as we come around. We'll be able to see that suspect. But as you said, there were at least two suspects. We saw the other suspect run east. The driver ran west, and it's unclear at this point whether the passenger is in custody. And now I'm hearing two in custody. Yeah, it all happened so quickly there at the end when he lost control. But we are hearing that two suspects are in custody, and I'm waiting for the confirmation to hear that all suspects are in custody. You see officers still running, though, so it's unclear whether everyone's in custody. They're saying they have code 4, which typically means that everyone is in custody. It means, but I'm waiting. I am hearing that there is at least one suspect in custody, but we saw two, so I'm waiting to hear the official confirmation that everyone is in custody. Hey. We're coming around here so that we can look at the vehicle to see whether or not anyone else is in there. They haven't been able to clear the vehicle yet, so it's unclear whether anyone is still inside. Yeah, this is perfect. Thank you. It definitely is, and I am hearing right now over the police scanner that they have both suspects in custody.